right, I think we're recording. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Michelle Corbett. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communication at Madera Community College. And we are the host for this conference this year. We were really looking forward to having everyone in person and having you see our campus and all of the great new things going on. But unfortunately, that did not happen. But I believe that we have a really great session prepared for you today, and we are excited to have you, and so welcome. I want to start by just having quickly my colleagues who are hosting this alongside me, Emily and Kurt, introduce themselves briefly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, good morning. I am Emily Slater. I'm the Director of Outreach for Clovis Community College. It's great to see everybody.
Good morning, guys. Kurt Pylan, Director of College Relations and Outreach for Reedley. Thanks for joining us this morning. Looking forward to, getting through this, but also talking to everybody throughout this year. Thanks.
Great, thank you guys. And then just have something a little fun. If you guys see the little reaction button in the lower corner, most likely right corner, it'd be fun if everyone who's representing the different colleges, either as a feeder school. So if your high school traditionally feeds into one of the schools that I'm going to shout out, go ahead and do a little reaction, or if you work for that school. So everyone sort of representing Fresno City College, give a shout out. All right, how about Madera Community College? Clovis. All right, and then finally, last but not least, Reedley College. All right, thank you guys. We're really happy to have you here. The reason we exist is to serve the students in our communities. And so we would be remiss if we did not introduce you and have you hear one of our student stories. And so we're going to kick the day off introducing you to Miguel Duran. Emily, you can move that slide forward. And then Emily, is there a way that folks can view the speaker, if we could instruct folks, because I want you to be able to see Miguel as he's telling his story. What is the way that people do that? Do you guys know? There should be like a view way. I don't see it on here. That's okay. We'll go ahead and just move forward. So Miguel, I want to introduce Miguel. He is going to share his story. So without further ado, Miguel, go ahead and kick us off, please. There we go. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Wow. I'm shocked. I didn't know it was going to be this many people. This is awesome. This is so awesome. I feel honored to be here. I think slowly I'm starting to realize how much of an impact I can potentially have on people. But to introduce myself to some of you who don't know who I am, I grew up in Madera Ranchos. So right now I'm currently in San Luis Obispo. I go to Cal Poly University. I'm graduating in business administration, concentrating in management and HR. But that's like wow. But that's not where it started. I started in Madera Ranchos, going to Liberty High School. So it's super cool to see my high school counselor here. It's like I haven't talked to him in such a long time. And then after graduating high school, I decided that community college was going to be the best option for me financially. And so I decided to go to Madera Community College. But you guys have Madera, Clovis, and Fresno, and I kind of wanted to experience all three of them. I didn't get the chance to experience all three of them. I did get to experience Madera Community College and Clovis Community College. And so that was pretty good. That was pretty good. But you want me to tell my story, just my story, or how in depth?
Yeah, just briefly, maybe Miguel, if you could share with us sort of the impact that community college had on your life, that would be really helpful. Mm-hmm.
Where do I start? I think one thing that people do think about when you say, oh, community college, is they don't realize how much community college really has to offer. You know, of course, there are the benefits of after graduating high school, you go to a 4-year university. Yeah, that has its pros, but people don't realize that going to community college also has incredible benefits that you couldn't really even imagine. One, it's just you go into a community that's completely different than high school. It's so different types of, you meet different people from different backgrounds. Sometimes you find people that share the same backgrounds as you. And to me, that was just something that I experienced for the first time. Where I come from, my high school, my community, my neighborhood, let's say I didn't necessarily fit in with anybody. My parents migrated to the United States when I was 3 years old. And so I was born in Mexico. And coming over here as an immigrant, I grew up, I feel like I was born here. I feel like I'm a US citizen, but technically I'm not. Like technically I'm still an immigrant. Technically I don't have the some privileges that other folks have. And I just never fit in with anybody until I came into community college. Once I stepped into community college was when I started to meet people who were almost in the same situation as me, or who shared similar backgrounds, or who shared the same feelings I shared. And that was wonderful, because it really increased my motivation. It increased my inspiration. It increased my everything when it comes to continuing my educational journey. I was telling myself, wow, if this is how, so let's talk about Madera Community College. I started meeting so many professors, so many staff, because I was working in community college. And I start tutoring students, and I'd just slowly start meeting people who were in the same boat as me. And I was like, wow. And then I come to find out that community college is not even, like when I was at community college, it wasn't still like its own community college. It was still a center underneath Reedley. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. If all these connections I'm making at this small, not even community college yet, imagine the possibilities when I go to a university. And so that's where the inspiration, that's where the motivation kicks in. And so here I'm at Cal Poly now. I do want to give thanks to the counselors, to the people at the Career Center, to the professors, to the students, to the president. Everyone had such an impact in just like my life, and either small or big, changing my mentality, adding some perspective to my eyes. It was so great meeting everybody. And then going to community college, that was awesome too, because it also opened my eyes to meeting different types of people who lived really close to me in Clovis. I'm from Madera, so they're from Clovis. So and I was like, wow, like there's all these people living at Clovis, and I had no idea, you know. And then talking to professors there, just gaining insight, gaining wisdom. I think that was one of my mentalities when I was in community college, was just, okay, something that I really, really want to increase is my knowledge. Something that I really, really want to gain is wisdom, just so that I can make the right choices whenever the choices get presented to me, or when it's time to make the choice. So I do give a lot of thanks to my parents, because you know, it's not easy what they did. It's something that I can't even comprehend. Well, you know, they were around my age right now, 21, when they said, you know what, let's take off, let's go to the United States, and then let's basically, now this is a quote that I just always take in my heart, is my parents left everything to give me everything. And you know, it's like, okay, that's cool. No. Like they left everything. They left their parents, their family, their friends, their jobs, their school, everything, to potentially give me everything. And it's just something that sometimes I come and I start meeting people, and I hear their stories and I compare it to mine. And it's just so beautiful, and it's just a good reminder to me that my parents made that sacrifice. And so currently, I have a degree. I have an associate's degree from community college. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree next year. So my parents, their dream was, to complete university and then get a job. And so I'm basically completing their dreams. Their dreams weren't able, they couldn't accomplish their dreams. So their dreams now become their kids to do what they couldn't do. And to be aware that I'm currently doing that, it's just beautiful. It's so beautiful. And of course, distractions of life, you sometimes forget, but it is beautiful remembering that what I'm doing isn't just living life, but it's more meaningful to my parents, to my family, to my friends, to you guys, to other students. I feel honored. I feel really honored.
Thank you, Miguel. We're really proud of you, and we're really grateful that you shared a bit of your story with us today. One thing that Miguel is maybe too modest to mention is that he was in I believe, the top 25 of his class at Liberty, and so high achiever and community college success story. And we're really grateful for you, Miguel. So thank you for being with us today. You're welcome to pop off now, or you can feel free to sit through all of the presentations, but we're really grateful that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give me the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah, we're really proud of you. Thank you.
All righty. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Students come from all walks of life, and we're proud of every one of them. And so I'm glad that you were able to meet one of our students. The next person I would like to introduce is the first ever president of Madera Community College, Dr. Angel Reyna, and he's going to give an opening message as the host president for this event today. So I will hand it over to you, Dr. Reyna.
Thank you, Michelle. It's kind of hard to follow Miguel after that great story. What a great inspiration. I definitely felt that in my heart. So I know, Miguel, I see you're still there. So thank you so much for spending your Friday with us to share your lived experience. Greatly appreciate it. And as you know, Miguel, I shared a same story to yours. So thank you for sharing. On behalf of State Center Community College District, I welcome you all, high school counselor partners, our community college outreach staff, counselors, everyone. As you can see from what Miguel stated, you all played a key role in his life, his path, and his current successes. So thank you so much for all the great work that you do. And, for us coming together today, it kind of epitomizes why we do what we do. So thank you so much on behalf of State Center Community College District, specifically Fresno City, Reedley College, Clovis Community College, and Madera Community College. We thank you for everything that you do, because we truly know, and I know Miguel alluded to this a little bit, it takes a village. It truly takes a village, from high school counselors to our college staff, and then four-year universities to get students on their path. So thank you so much for that. If you could, to the next slide, please. I just want to give you a quick overview of Madera Community College for those of you that may not be as familiar. I'm not going to talk about any of the construction projects because Michelle, I believe somebody's going to take care of that. So I just want to share kind of our timeline. Miguel alluded to this a while ago, is that we were a center when he started, and we're a college. Share a few programs that we've started, and then just general signage on our campus, and then who our students are. Next slide, please. So this slide here kind of shows our 2-year journey towards accreditation, towards becoming a college. This work began before I arrived. As you can see, we started our journey in July of 2018. I was hired May of 2019. And as Michelle mentioned, so I was the first ever campus president. And then later on, I became the first ever college president. And I'm truly proud and humbled to hold those titles. And more importantly, you know, what brought me to Madera, and I'm just going to speak to this a little bit because I think it resonates with Miguel and his story, was the students that we serve. And I wanted to be at an institution that I represented and reflected the students that I served. On October of 2019, we had our first site visit. In January of 2020, we were awarded candidacy, which just means we now have a formal relationship with the accrediting body. Then we proceeded pushing forward collectively with faculty, staff, and students. And then on June 29, 2020, we were granted initial accreditation, and then that triggered the Board of Governors the following month to grant us college status. So we're a little over a year old, but we're doing a lot of great things. We haven't been spinning our wheels thinking we're a new college, what do we do? We've been very proactive. And by we, I mean the faculty, staff, and students in the communities that we serve. Next slide, please. So part of our maturity and our growth and trying to be leaders within our district and the state, and that's the approach we've taken as, you know, the Academic Senate, Classified Senate. We're looking towards programs that are high wage, high demand, but also in alignment with the communities that we serve. So this fall, we started industrial maintenance technology, social work and human services. And then the third one, which is we're one of 8 colleges in the state that was awarded this pilot program to do competency-based education. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. Western Governors University does that. I think University of Phoenix and some other folks are getting involved with that. And so it no longer bounds a student on seat time. It's all based on competencies and how fast they can move through the curriculum. And we've selected business administration to be our first program. And we've actually, within this week, we've decided to also potentially incorporate the social work and human services to be the second program we're going to do side by side concurrently. And what that does, it's going to take us 4 years. So it's not like we're going to start it next fall, because it takes a lot of work. Department of Education at the federal level, working with student services, faculty, developing those competencies. But be on the lookout for this, because this is a game changer for us as a system, but more specifically as a district. The other things that we're looking at were the truck driving and viticulture, enology, just because it aligns with, you know, I don't know how many of you have been on 99 and all you see is trucks, right? And you're wondering, why am I stuck in traffic? Well, there's a lot of trucks. If you're on 99 and Ave 12, if you've ever been there. And then viticulture and enology, it's a no-brainer. We have a lot of wineries around Madera. And then at our Oakhurst campus, because it's part of Madera Community College, we have a lot of tourism. So we're looking at culinary arts, tourism, and hospitality there. And then just generally speaking, construction, because there's a lot of that taking place. Next slide, please. And the other thing that comes along with college status, all of our signage used to say Madera Community College Center. So as of June 30th or June 29th, most of our signage changed. Those of you that understand the fiscal process will know why it took place before July 1, because you got to expend, you know, you got to make sure that everything arrives and it's put in place before the end of the fiscal year. And so this is the entrance, to our campus with our new logo. Next slide, please. And we'll show different areas. And as you enter for parking, you see our new logo, you see banners. And so we wanted to make sure that we gave it more of a campus college feel. This shot here specifically, those of you that know our campus, this is Academic Village 1, facing south towards Ave 12. So when you have a lot of cars going back and forth, they know that we're a college and they can see us as they pass by. Next slide, please. So one of the other things that we're working on, if you're familiar with our campus, it's on the southwest corner of our campus, basically on the corner of Ave 12 and Road 30. This is where this is going to go. And Academic Village 2, which will be talked about later, will be close to where this is at. So students will be coming in and out of Road 30. That's why we made this marquee 4-sided. And then people are traveling east and west on Ave 12. So we wanted to make sure we got our communication out to folks that were traveling through our, passing through our campus or going in and out of our campus. And we also wanted to make it a spot where students could take pictures if they wanted to. So there's a bench there and you can see the MCC, et cetera. So we wanted to add to not only the communication, but also to the aesthetics to the college as well. Next slide, please. And I think, for us as a college and the work that we do is centered around who our students are. Next slide, please. And so I think it's always critically important. Every time I try to do a presentation, I try to center our students so people get an understanding of who our students are and who we serve. So you can see here, we're predominantly Hispanic, Latinx, identified close to 70%. We have about 15% white, and then 7.6 Asian, and you can see throughout as well. And I think it's critically important as we develop our curriculum, our student support services, we have to know who our students are in order to better serve them. Next slide, please. And in terms of age, you can see the breakdown here. About 40% of our students are 19 and younger. Another 40% of our students lie within 20 to 29. And then the remaining about 20% are 30 plus. So understanding our age of our students is also critically important in how we look towards educating our students in a better way. Next slide, please. And then gender, and it's something that we've been seeing this trend, not just locally at Madera Community College, but statewide and national. Our male students are being left behind in terms of engagement and participation in higher ed. And it's something that we're looking at and we put in our strategic plan that we want to address. Michelle knows this. When she arrived, I told her, hey, this is one of the areas we need to get involved in and work with our partners to better support not only our female students that are currently on our campus, but the students that are not attending our campus, and figuring out why that's taking place and what can we do to be proactive to engage our student population to reflect that of our communities. I think generally speaking, within the district, we're about 60% female and 40% male. And you can see here at Madera Community College, we're about 8 percentage points higher than that. Next slide, please. And I just want to end by thanking you. As you can see, the students reflected in this image reflect the communities that we serve. And this is, I tell students when I welcome them and do an orientation with them, I say, this is the second most important day that you'll have with us. And I ask them, do you know which is the most important day? And they say, which one? I say, commencement, when I get to shake your hand once again when you go through that finish line. And it, like I said before, you're the one that helps us get students in. You're the ones that help us get them through. And we greatly appreciate the great work because it truly does take a village, as Miguel mentioned. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you all have a great conference. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. It's obviously reflected in Miguel and in countless others. So please keep doing the great work that you're doing. Thank you once again, and welcome virtually to Madera Community College, the newest community college in the state of California. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Reyna. We really appreciate your time. We are going to move into some district updates. And so Kurt and Emily and I are going to kind of share this part. And the first thing that we wanted to share is that we are growing, and we're just going to quickly go through some of the new buildings just so that you can join us in our excitement. And I don't know if Gurdeep's on and she wants to quickly talk about Clovis, or I can cover it.
Yeah,
awesome.
I can do that.
Thank you, Gurdeep.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Nice to virtually be with you. So just really quickly, Clovis Community College, also pretty new, but we've got some exciting things happening, which is number one, our new building coming up. We hope to break ground, if not the end of this year, the next year. And that is going to focus on applied technology, which is more of our CTE programs, but we are growing so fast that we're running out of space, like literally for everything. So this is going to be applied tech and everything else that we can fit into there. So that's that building. And then the next big bit of news that we have is, as a community college for many years, we have not had direct transportation to our campus. So we are so happy to announce that starting in January, we will officially have public transportation coming to our college. So this partnership with the city of Fresno and with Clovis a bit as well too. City of Clovis will be running all the way down Herndon, from Herndon and 99, all the way up to Willow and Herndon, and then up to the college and around. So that's our new route. And those are two of our newest updates. I know we're running short, so I'm going to let the team jump to the next slide.
Thanks, Gurdeep. Thank you.
Mhm.
So next is Reedley College, and you know what? During the pandemic, we were busy growing, ironically enough. But we have our math and science building that's open now. The bottom floor is predominantly dental assistant. So our old dental assistant program was in a room in a building that looked like it was from the early '80s. We've upgraded, so it's really neat. There's a lot of cool rooms there. I can't wait to share them with you guys. Our math center has moved as well. Most of our STEM programs operate out of that building. Center for Fine and Performing Arts is going to be breaking ground hopefully before the end of the fall, but we got an email sometime probably early spring. My goal is that once it's available, I want to host our high school counselor conference in the Fine and Performing Arts building. I'm not going to give you a year because I don't know, but soon. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And then we have Madera Community College. We dedicated this past year in, I believe, 2020, our Center for Agriculture and Technology. So manufacturing and welding and industrial technology, lots of great things going on in there. And then we're in the middle of building Academic Village 2. As similar to Clovis, we are busting at the seams. And so general education, expanded library, lots of things going into that building. And then finally, we're going to be actually building a brand new campus for in our Oakhurst area. And so we're really excited about that. And then go ahead and move to the next slide. And unfortunately, Nick with Fresno City College is out today, not able to make it. He sends his regrets. And so I'm going to cover Fresno City College briefly. You'll see several projects, but the one I want to talk about is the West Fresno campus. So this is going to be a 110,000 square foot academic and career technical satellite campus on the corner of Church and Walnut, and that is underway and everyone's really excited. It should be up and running around August 2022. So there's just a lot going on in terms of growth, and we appreciate your partnership in helping to make sure the students know about the great opportunities that we're building for our community. So we can move on to the next slide. And I'm going to give a really brief update, and we will be sharing these slides with you, so you don't need to feel like you need to take notes. And we'll go through some of these somewhat quickly, but you may have heard that we do have a COVID-19 vaccine mandate, and there's been a little bit of confusion with the high school campuses. So we wanted to clarify, especially for those of you who have students who are taking college courses right now, that this does apply to students, including high school students who are taking in-person instruction on a college campus, or anyone accessing our facilities for in-person services. However, if a student is taking 100% online instruction or dual enrollment courses, 100% at the high school campuses, this does not apply to them. And then you can see there, and I won't go through it too much, but there is the ability for someone wearing a face covering to come in briefly, and there's things like that for 15 minutes to use facilities and all of that. But this mandate is in effect until it's lifted. And so we do anticipate that it's a potential for fall 2022 and the upcoming classes. So that's something we want to make sure that you're aware of, and we'll be making sure the high school students are aware of it as well. Next slide.
All right, let's talk about our registration to go program last year and how everything went. We wanted to put up a table of 2017 through 2021. So this is class of 2021-22. So this would have technically been our class that just started. So the process last year. So you can see kind of what happened last year. So if you went through this process last year, and you know how it went, our application workshops definitely suffered. Doing them virtually is no fun. And so because our applications were very low, we enrolled less students. So even though the percentage of students that enrolled as a percentage of applicants actually went up, you know, our overall enrollment definitely took a hit. And so this table is one that we normally give you. This is just a snapshot of it. We will be giving you the full table so you can see where your students went. So You'll see your total enrollment, and then also where your students, went. This is after census. So this is the students that enrolled, showed up, and stayed, 3 weeks into the semester. We are putting together a folder that will have this PowerPoint, the recording, it will have calendars. We're going to do different folders for the different colleges that will have their handouts and checklists and all kinds of good stuff. We will be sharing that by next Wednesday. You'll get a link. So that will be in there. You can take a look at that full report, and we'll go ahead and put 2020 in as well so you can compare to last year. But we did want to let you know, we did take a hit. And so we are very happy to be back in person and working with your students. This year, just to go over our important dates, we're going to give you the Reg to Go calendar so you have the full dates and know what's going to go on this year. But just to talk about our little year in review, September 1st, you all know the application opened. Coming up, the next big date is December 1st. That's when the online new student orientation opens for registration to go. That, of course, the date for that orientation will determine when the student will be eligible to register in those 3 priority registration days if they meet that matriculation deadline. The class schedule will open for viewing Tuesday, March 15th, and the matriculation deadline this year is Monday, April 18th. Our registration dates will be assigned and emailed to students April 20th. And then Tuesday, April 26th, we'll start our 3 days of priority registration for those students who met the April 18th matriculation deadline. Summer open registration is April 29th. So students will get to register for both summer and fall during their priority registration dates. So they will get to register before the summer open registration date happens. And then open registration will happen as well May 9th. And that's open registration for the fall. Just a brief to talk about what's going on with registration to go. Currently, we are offering services in person. Something that we are going to be working on in the next couple of months is we are putting together a district-wide work group, and we're going to be planning both our in-person and online advising scenarios. So we're going to be still working on how we could do advising in person, but we're looking at online advising as well. And most likely that will be kind of a makeup, session. So maybe some afternoon makeup sessions where we can take care of the students that missed their in-person sessions. That worked really well last year. And so we'll be looking at that as well. Some things we'll also be looking at are some things that we have, we started last year. So we loved electronic transcripts and not carrying around, giant stacks of transcripts. We loved electronic SEPs and sending them to students through email, and students didn't have to worry about losing that little yellow piece of paper. But, that's something that we're going to have to work with you on, because when we're on campus, technology is really difficult, because Wi-Fi is difficult. And so we may need to work with you on, how can we get access to your Wi-Fi? Because we'll need that in order to make that all work. So these are things, logistics that we will have to work through district-wide to make all of this stuff happen. And of course, we're going to have to come up with Plan A and Plan B and Plan C, because we're in an ever-changing landscape, because you just never know what's going to happen next week or next month or next spring. And you all know that. And so we're going to come up with all kinds of plans just because we don't know what will go on. And so that is something that we're going to be working on, just to make sure that we're not caught unaware. So hang in there with us. We're going to be working on all of that for the spring. And let me go into our communication preferences. We went over this last year, so it isn't new, but we did want to go over it one more time. I will say that students are doing a great job with this. And so I think because students are working more and more with technology, they are using portals and Google Classroom and Teams and all kinds of things. They are doing much better with remembering passwords and logging in and that kind of thing. So they're doing a great job with it, and you're doing a great job with helping them. But just remember, you know, when they log in for the first time and you know how to help them with their login, they do need to update their communication preferences. It is really tempting to just ignore that, you know, pop-up that shows up there and get out of there. But we do need them to update their communication preferences, which means that they have to verify. So they have to go in and put their cell phone number in and their email, and then they have to go into their cell phone and kind of put that little code in or the email and verify their email after they submit that. We need to, oh, sorry, let me go back up there. We need to do that because we are sending, it signs them up for not only being able to reset their password on their own if for some reason they are not able to get into, you know, if they forget their password, also because their default password will reset after 45 days. So for some reason, you know, they forget to change their password, they will have to call in if they haven't updated their communication preferences. So we want to make sure that they're able to do that on their own and they don't have to worry about calling in. The other thing about communication preferences is we have something called the notification hub, and they can select what kind of notifications they can opt in or opt out of. There's all kinds of different channels that we're launching, and you know, they can customize what kind of notifications they will be a part of. And so they want to take a look at that. Make sure that they are taking advantage of those, but also the password is very important. So we want to make sure that they are checking that out, especially because when they do their application, a lot of times for those students, the next time they log in is not until they start their orientation. And that's definitely 45 days. And so we don't want to make sure that their password has not expired and they're not able to get in. Kurt, I think you are going to go over self-service.
Trying to get this mosquito that's flying around, sorry. But one of the other changes, guys, come down the pike is self-service. And so self-service, it's integrated into our system now, but it's really the thing that's going to be great for us and for you guys is it's going to replace the registration function on WebAdvisor. So eventually, hopefully before registration, we were told in the spring, so hopefully before the registration date that Emily mentioned, it's going to be live. And so it'll be accessible through the portal. That's what the icon's going to look like, but a student's going to be able to click into that. If I can go to the next slide, please. And they can do the search for classes. So if you ever looked at WebAdvisor, you know it looks really old school and really beta, and it's hard for students to navigate, and you have to click in to look at the details of the class, and it's really hard to, you know, it's hard, it's difficult. But this is going to be a lot cleaner. It's a easier version. It's an easier lookup. Right now, you could actually go into all of our college websites under the Schedule of Courses tab, and you can actually, I took screenshots the other day for this. The course search tool or the search function is there. And so the modality of it is the same as WebAdvisor. It's just a lot easier to look at. Can we go to the next slide, please? And so when a student picks a class, this is a filter for English 1A for the fall, for example, you can see on the left-hand side, it shows the locations. And so before, this is an easy example, but before they had to pick the location on the front end, now it shows them and they can filter it. So there's a filter after the search, which is really great. Also, another thing that I have pointed out there is we have a lot of our texts or our classes across our district that are zero textbook cost to students, and that's going to be indicated there. So, you know, if you go into WebAdvisor now, there's a column on the far right that has notes for the class, and that's going to be replaced with some easier icons and some easier just visual aids to help students navigate the modality of their class and all of that great stuff. So I'm really looking forward to this. And again, it should be available and live. They said April, so we're going to hold them to it sometime in the spring. So looking forward to that. Next.
Okay, hi everyone, my name's Alyssa. I'm one of the financial aid specialists at Clovis. I'm going to go over the financial aid updates. Then next slide. Okay, so first, today is FAFSA Day. So today is the opening of application for 22 to 23. The FAFSA as well as the DREAM Act application did open up today. So it does open up about a year in advance. Students, just a reminder, should submit it before March 2nd for that priority deadline. The difference between the FAFSA and the DREAM Act is just based on the citizenship. So if you are ever working with a student and you're not sure which application they should fill out, please contact us and then we can help you from there to see which application would be best. Also a reminder that our scholarship applications did open up today as well. So the scholarship applications are dependent on which college the student's wanting to attend. So make sure that the students are also submitting their scholarship application before March 2nd. Next slide. So the big updates that we're processing right now is with the passing of the 2021 Consolidated Appropriations Act. So with this, we're actually able to make it a little bit easier for students to complete the FAFSA application, get it submitted, and then hopefully get them financial aid easier. So as far as this current year, the FAFSA that did just open up, there's two big changes. Number one is the removal of the selective service requirement. In the past, if males between the ages of 18 and 25 didn't register, don't register, were not able to complete their file. And what happens is a lot of students don't even know what selective service is, what they're supposed to turn in. So with this waiver, we're able to hopefully get more files completed and get students more aid. So that has been removed. And then as well as having a drug conviction won't affect eligibility as well. So that's for this upcoming year FAFSA. As we look for towards the future for the next couple years, there are some changes that are going to be implemented kind of slowly within the next few years. The big thing is with this act, there's supposed to be fewer questions and less to self-report. And why that's important is a lot of students can get overwhelmed with the FAFSA application, right? It's asking for all this information that students don't have or not aware of, or it's parent information on there. So with the fewer questions, we're hoping that students submit the application. We have more submissions, as well as having less to self-report means that a lot of students won't hopefully put incorrect information, because we were also seeing that the students were listing any answer because they weren't sure what they were supposed to put. So just a reminder that this is kind of simplifying that whole process. And then as well for the future years, the number in college won't affect eligibility either. And why this is important is because a lot of students were kind of penalized if the parents chose to kind of space out their kids when they're choosing to have kids. And so what would happen is parents who had kids closer together, who were both in college at the same time, were eligible for more financial aid than those who, let's say, had them 4 years apart. So with this change, it's taking that question out. So just creating more equality across the board. And then as well in the next few years is we're going to be changing, instead of an estimated family contribution, which is the amount that determines what financial aid can award, that's actually going to be changed to a student aid index, because we know that the FAFSA spits out that number that says this is how much is supposed to be contributed to college, but that's really not always the case. It's not necessarily going to the student's education. So we're changing that name so that way it's a better representation. And then as well as with that change, the calculation will allow for negatives, which will help us to find the quote unquote neediest students. So it's going to be easier for us to determine which students need the most amount of aid, and then we can award it through there. So those are some changes you'll see in the next few years. As far as this current year, so if a student's attending for this fall semester, we do have a waiver actually due to COVID. We're able to waive a lot of the normal verification documents. So if you've worked with a student that needs to turn in a tax return, needs to turn in other documentation, we've actually been able to waive that for a lot of our students. We haven't been told that that's going to be extended for next year though. So there is a potential that won't be extended because it just really depends on what the government chooses to do at that point. So there is a potential it will be, and that will definitely make it easier for students' files to be completed because they won't have to turn in that paperwork. And then I did see a question, so let me answer that real quick. So someone did ask, do males still need to register for selective service outside of the FAFSA? So yes, unfortunately, this is just for the FAFSA application. It won't stop federal student aid anymore, but it is still just a requirement in general. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just for the FAFSA purposes. We can get federal student aid to them without having that requirement be met. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I did want to go over the first 2 years free. So this is a big initiative for California community colleges. You know, you can get the first 2 years covered. I did want to go over some more details with it because if you've seen the first 2 years free, you know, everywhere there are a couple, you know, fine print items. So a student does still have to submit a FAFSA or DREAM Act application in order to get this. So a lot of students just enroll in classes and think all of the tuition will be covered, but there is still a few steps we need them to take. So we do still need students to complete a FAFSA or DREAM Act. But what's great about it is them completing it does not hinder them or make it so that they wouldn't receive it. So a lot of students come in and say, you know, I know that my parents make too much. There's no way I'm going to get my classes paid for. And what's hard is some of these students are living on their own, but they're not considered independent for the FAFSA. With the first 2 years free, students are awarded it despite the income that's on the FAFSA. So that is the main reason why students will want to do this, is because you can have your classes paid for regardless of the income provided. But they still do have to do a FAFSA or DREAM Act. This is going to be for all of our first year students, although dual enrollment doesn't negatively affect it. So if a student were to, let's say, take off a year, didn't attend anywhere, and then come to school, they can still be eligible for it. So it's not based on like age or anything. So even if there's a student who's a little bit older coming to school for the first time, they can still be eligible for this. It's just a first-time college student. They do have to be a California resident. They do have to have graduated from high school. And then the big one is they have to be enrolled full-time, so in at least 12 units in order to receive this. If it's anything less than 12 units, the student would have to pay for that tuition out of pocket. Something that to note is this is awarded on a first come, first served basis. So a lot of students think no matter what, I'm going to have my college paid for. The hard thing is we get a certain allocation and then we use those funds to pay for students' tuition. So as of right now, speaking for Clovis, we have not ran out of funds, but it is always a possibility, which is why we strongly encourage students to apply early, because if they were to apply months after the semester's over, there is a potential there may not be funds to cover it. And then it is also contingent on our state budget, meaning that potentially, if it's not continued on and signed on, then it could, may not happen in the future. So definitely have the student just reach out to their financial aid office if they have any questions or anything. But I did want to go over this one since a lot of students are wanting those first 2 years free. And then next slide, please. Okay, so just briefly to go over the rest of the financial aid awards. These are all of the different awards we offer at all of our colleges. So we have a lot of awards that we give out to students. So there's a promise grant to cover tuition, another way that students can get their fees paid for. We have federal grants like Pell Grant, SEOG Grant, Federal Work Study, working on campus. We also have state grants like Cal Grant, Student Success Completion Grant 1 and 2. We also have those scholarships as well as loans. So just keeping in mind, there's a lot of funds available for students to help them go to college. And these funds are going to change for when they transfer. So if a student's interested in coming to community college first, I think that's a great and wise choice. Because while they're here, if they're getting extra funding that maybe they don't need to spend that semester, they can put it away in savings, and that'll help them to take out less student loans, potentially no student loans in the future for when they transfer. So definitely a lot of great resources out there. Next slide. And I did just leave my contact information on there. So if you have any specific questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. I did see some questions in the chat, so I'll go over those in just a second. And then I did leave the general contact information for all of our financial aid offices. Depending on which office the student's going to, it may be best to contact So let me take a look at the questions real quick. So I did have a great question. So there's a question about the high school graduate requirement, and it was asked if the GED or the equivalent is accepted. It is. So it's a high school diploma or GED or equivalent. So yeah, all across the board, as long as it's one of those, we take it as the same as a high school diploma would. And then there's a question about, let's see, if they take the exit exam instead of graduating, are they AB 19 eligible? Yeah, so we do go off of the FAFSA application. So they would still need to do the FAFSA application. It does ask where they received their diploma from. So we would have to take a look and see, depending on how they answer that question. So if they said, no, I don't have a high school diploma, we may need some additional documents like proof of like a KC or something like that. And then just depending on what the test is, we would have to look in our regulations to see if that one qualifies. And then let's see, can they still be eligible for 2 years free if they take courses at a trade school before starting community college? It's a great question. Unfortunately, they wouldn't be eligible for it because at that point they took classes elsewhere. So unfortunately, we have a lot of students that, let's say they start a semester at a trade school or even at like a UC or state school, and they find it's maybe not what they want to do. It's overwhelming. They want to come back to a community college. Unfortunately, they wouldn't be eligible for that anymore. And the reason why is this AB 19 is aimed to have students finish with their bachelor's degree in 4 years. 2 years at a community college, 2 years at a four-year university to graduate. So it does hurt a student if they take classes elsewhere, then go to a community college, then on to their bachelor's. So unfortunately, if they have any units anywhere outside of their first year at a community college, they're not eligible for that, unfortunately. Let's see. Our short-term classes units included as the total of what the student takes for the semester. They are. So if a student, let's say, starts a semester in 6 units, and then in October they have 6 more units starting, it does count as 12 units total. So they would be eligible to have all of those units covered. Sometimes what happens is we can't award it until those short-term units start. So the classes wouldn't be paid for until like that October, but they are counted. And then, is being a high school grad a requirement for the traditional need-based fee waiver? So actually it's not. So just to have the California College Promise Grant, which is income-based based on the FAFSA application, you don't have to be a high school graduate for that one. So a lot of students, maybe if they don't have their high school diploma or GED and they're taking some units, they can still get their classes paid for, but we wouldn't be able to offer any like federal student aid or anything until they can show proof of that high school diploma. For the first time college student, will enrichment affect eligibility? No. So any dual enrollment or anything like that, it won't affect them. So if they take classes during high school, it's not counted against them because they don't have a high school diploma at that. And then if the California College Promise Grant is renewable for 2 years, So the California College Promise Grant is separate from AB 19 and the first 2 years free. The California College Promise Grant is the other type of fee waiver that's income-based. And for that one, there's no time limit on. So that one, they can continue to receiving even past a bachelor's degree. So with that one, there's no time limit. So in other words, if one attends, let me know if that answers the question. I'm not too sure on that one. But yeah, with the California College Promise Grant, there's no time limit, so they can continue to receive that one, even if it's past a bachelor's degree. I think that's all of the questions. I'll wait just a couple seconds to see if anyone else has any other ones. Oh, what does it mean if the student's financial aid page on WebAdvisor is saying their 2020 to 2021 applications being reviewed? Potentially, we could have been missing something from them. That is last year's application though. So if they weren't attending during 2020 to 2021, there wouldn't be anything we could award for for that last year. If they were attending, then I would recommend whichever office process their financial aid, that they would reach out to them to see if there's anything that they may have, been missing or something like that. But if they weren't enrolled during that time, then they wouldn't be eligible for any of that. Okay, and then let's see. I'm not too sure if that one counts as a high school graduate for eligibility. I will double check on that real quick to see if that one does, and then I'll put it in the chat for everyone. So before I do that, was there any other questions?
Thank you, Alyssa. You are a wealth of knowledge. You should go on Jeopardy for financial aid, I think, and you would win.
I would try.
Yeah, you're good.
I'll message everyone though about exactly which ones are eligible for the federal student aid, because there's a few different ones that we look at. So I'll take a look at that in the handbook and then I'll message it in the chat.
Thank you very much. That was a very helpful presentation. We're now going to move on, and I will let you know that we will have a break after this upcoming session. Obviously, if you need to take your own little break, feel free, but we'll have a formal break coming up. And then Emily, if you can move to the next slide. We are going to be giving you a little overview of some of our career and technical programs. This is something that came up. The way that we built the program was based on the survey we sent out to you as counselors to ask you what you would be interested in. And this one was a really popular topic. And so we wanted to make sure that you got some highlights of some of the career and technical programs that we have. And so we're going to have each college share about 2 different programs. So we're going to be moving into our first college. Reedley, thank you. Jason, you're up.
Hi, and good morning, everybody. I thank you for inviting me to speak here. It's I kind of feel a little privileged being an instructor invited to a counselor's conference. So in the past year here at Reedley College, we took advantage of some downtime during COVID to revamp our information systems programs. If we go to the next slide, please, the first program that we have, I don't know, maybe I have control over it. Oh, there we go. Okay, the first certificate that we created was the Technology Foundation Certificate. This certificate is designed for those who want to get into computing, but they're not sure if they want to take more of a CTE, information systems or information technology route, or if they want to go a little deeper and go more of a computer science route. So we created this certificate that starts with a careers in computing course. It exposes students to different careers and different paths that they can take in computing and helps them differentiate, maybe nail down exactly which direction they want to go. But we didn't just want them to walk away with a career awareness, but we actually built in some skills into the program. So we added a couple of Microsoft Office courses. We have word processing or Microsoft Word course, spreadsheet fundamentals, both very high demand in pretty much every workplace, but especially for information technology and other computing jobs. And then another exciting part of this is that we added kind of an entry-level technical class, the Information Technology Fundamentals course. And then we added some options for students to explore after they take those courses. So they have their choice of a couple of different web development and web-related courses. I'll talk a little bit more about the IS-42 course, which is a graphic design for web. We also have an entry-level web development course, a programming in JavaScript course, as well as a programming in Python, the new CSI 58 course. An exciting thing about this certificate, which we did design in mind, or keeping in mind that we may want to offer this as a dual enrollment option. We actually built this with 2 industry certifications possible. One is the CompTIA ITF Plus certificate, which again is an entry-level IT certification. It's great for someone who's going to work in an office or maybe is thinking about a career in IT and wants to get their feet wet without diving in too deeply. The other is the Python Certified Associate in Programming certificate that they could earn by taking the CSI 58 course. So this entry-level certificate is something that we think might appeal to not only to adult learners who are maybe just graduated high school and aren't quite sure where they want to go, but also maybe appropriate for a dual enrollment pathway. Next, on the next slide, this is our IT support technician certificate. This is also available as an associate's degree. This certificate can be obtained by taking 3 courses. And one of the things that we built into this pathway that's a little bit different than what we've done in the past is we've added career preparation elements that our advisory board has told us they really feel that should be added. So in addition to a 6-unit IT support tech training course, they'll also have 2 units in career preparation. One of those is the IS-59 Careers Computing course, and then they can choose a 1 unit of work experience where they actually get some hands-on experience in the field. Or if that's not available or not feasible, there is a OT-17 job responsibilities and retention course that's geared specifically toward information technology. This course also leads to the A+ certification by CompTIA. It's recognized the world over as the certificate and the certification to have for anyone who's getting into IT. And so we're fortunate to live in an area that values IT. And one of the key selling points is that the average salary for an IT technician from our market down here at Reedley College is right around $66,000. Again, that's an average salary, so that's kind of in the middle. It's not necessarily where they're going to start, but it is an indicator of a strong earning potential for someone in this field. After students complete this certificate, we have another level. That's the Cisco Certified Networking Associate on the next slide. And the Cisco CCNA certificate is a new certificate that we added this year. Again, at the advice of our Career Pathway Advisory Board. The Cisco CCNA certification is recognized around the industry as a premier certification that indicates a networking technician's abilities. This is 4 courses, 3 4-unit courses in networking. That starts out by introducing students to networks, and then we build on that to take them deeper into networking. In addition to that, if the student hasn't already received any type of career preparation, we add another unit of that so that they can prove to employers that they're ready for the workplace. Another great thing about this is you've noticed each one of these are either low cost or no cost pathways. So really the only cost for students is the certification or is the tuition. And finally, another pathway that we have for students who are maybe a little bit more creative is the web development certificate. And this web development certificate is expanded by the addition of the web graphics and user interface design course at IS-42A. This certificate has been extremely successful and is actually taught as a dual enrollment pathway at Parlier High School right now. And I had the pleasure of observing that class just the other day. And these students are amazing. They're doing wonderful things and really love this. Again, all three of these last three certificates have excellent earning potential, even here in the Valley. For technology, we always think about if you're going to technology, the Bay Area is where to be, but really students have these amazing programs and job opportunities right here. So with that, I just want to reiterate all of these certificates that you see here, we've designed with the possibility of teaching these as dual enrollment courses as well as for adult learners. So if there is any interest, Dr. Pylan has added or will hand out informational flyers that include this, as well as kind of some suggested pathway guidance. And how are we doing on time? Any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Raquel Mendoza, and I'm the STEM counselor here at Madera Community College. So today I'm going to talk to you briefly about our engineering major. It's not a CTE program, but it's definitely a major we've been working on growing these past couple of years. Our engineering major at Madera was built to fulfill the lower division requirements for a bachelor's degree in any field, including civil, chemical, electrical, computer, and industrial engineering. In fact, our associate's degree in engineering was developed by a consortium of engineers, which included engineering educators in both community college, CSU, UC, and private. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest highlights for our engineering program is we have hired a full-time engineering instructor who's very, very involved with our students. He has now been able to offer all engineering core courses at our campus. Unfortunately, previously, before our growth, a lot of our students had to take some of these courses at some of our sister colleges, but we are now actively offering all of them. Something else that our faculty has been able to do for our program is they were able to obtain a grant to offer free textbooks on loan, of course, but for all of these engineering courses that you see on the screen. So students do not have to purchase the books for these programs. As you know, a lot of STEM books are quite expensive. So this is a great added benefit to our students. Next slide, please. And lastly, oftentimes counselors ask us, what can future engineering students do at the high school level in order to prepare? And of course, one of the biggest things we always advocate for, as we know high school counselors do as well, is to take 4 years of math. And if they're senior, they can take pre-calculus, calculus, or MRWC, we have found has been quite successful within our local feeder high schools. If they have taken that, the 4 years of math in high school, then they're ready to come into our Calc 1 class and finish and transfer within the 2 years. We also recommend students take chemistry, high school chemistry, to help prepare them for our chemistry course, as chemistry is required of really any STEM major. And lastly, we do want to encourage students to take Engineering 10, which is Intro to Engineering at the high school level through a dual enrollment program if it's offered. Madera is currently looking into probably partnering up with the newest high school at Madera to possibly offer this class. And this class is wonderful because it really introduces students to the different facets of engineering. And they also do resumes to prepare them for employment in the future. Please feel free to reach out to me or any other counselor at our Madera campus if you have any questions on our major. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Judy Pearson. I'm the nursing counselor at Madera Community College. I want to briefly talk about two of our programs that we have. We have an LVN licensed vocational nurse program. And then we have the LVN to RN bridge program. Both of these programs have a series of prerequisites that you're going to need to take. Can I have the next slide, please? One thing that I do want to emphasize is the LVN to RN, you must have an LVN license prior to applying. The average registered nursing salary in Fresno County is approximately $88,300. And the entry-level salary for LVNs is between $43,000 and $49,000 per year. Next slide, please. These are some of the locations that we have our clinical facilities, Community Regional Medical Center, the Behavioral Health Exodus Recovery Center is our psych center, St. Agnes Medical Center, Valley Children's for pediatrics, and for our LVN program, Madera Community College. Next slide, please. For high school students, what you need to do to start preparing if you want to go into an LVN or an RN program is get some of the prerequisites out of the way while you're in high school. For example, your intermediate algebra, your chemistry, such as in engineering. You need to get that chemistry out of the way in high school so you can take the next level of chemistry. As an LVN or an RN applicant, you should plan to major in biological science prior to transitioning into the LVN or RN programs. And I'm here to tell you, C's are not going to cut it. You have to get A's and B's in your classes. You're asking to go into an extremely competitive program. And again, grades are really critical when you're trying to get into these programs. And if you have any questions, schedule an appointment with a college nursing counselor and we can take it further from that point. Next slide.
Thank you, Judy. Happy Friday, everyone. I'll be representing Fresno City College and just wanted to let everyone know that we have 150 programs that are part of career, technical, and education, and I'll be representing our applied technology division. And within our division, the wonderful thing to know is that 80% of technical careers require the training beyond high school, but do not need a 4-year degree. Even with that said, if some of our students do want to transfer to a 4-year, we're definitely there for them to help them transfer. Next slide, please. These are all of the programs that Applied Technology has, but we will be highlighting our automotive technology. We didn't have a video for our diesel program, so we will just showcase our automotive technology and, of course, our computer aid manufacturing video. Someone can play that, please.
You didn't hear anything, did you?
I believe on the right-hand side, we have to put sound on.
Yeah, I have that ready. Sorry, give me a second.
I think you have to share your sound with the Zoom on the sounds.
Hold on one second.
I can narrate it. Hey, do you want to work on cars?
That's exactly what it says.
That's totally right. Hold on a second. Yeah, I didn't have that checked.
Fresno City College Automotive Technology program features a real hands-on experience, offering students practice in a wide range of diagnostics, repairs, and preventative maintenance on automobiles and light trucks, extensive training in engine overhaul, manual and automatic drivetrain, front-end alignment, brake service and repair, fuel systems, ignition systems, and air conditioning. This curriculum has been certified by the National Automotive Technician Education Foundation. If you enjoy a work environment that strives for problem solving, attention to detail, and independence with a salary range of $24,000 to $73,000, this opportunity is for you. Contact Fresno City College's Applied Technology Department at 559-442-8273 for more information today.
Is that too loud now?
That's perfect. Thank you, Emily.
Okay.
Our next program that we want to highlight is our CAM program, not the photography.
Barbie, do you want that video right away?
Yes, please, if we can play the CAM. Thank you.
The occupational area for machinists and computer numerical control machine operators has a bright outlook and is part of a growing green economy. This profession performs work involving the setup and operation of a variety of machine tools to produce precision parts and instruments. It includes precision instrument makers who fabricate, modify, or repair mechanical instruments, may also fabricate and modify parts to make or repair machine tools, or maintain industrial machines, applying knowledge of mechanics, mathematics, metal properties, layout, and machining procedures. If you would enjoy a work environment that focuses on attention to detail, independence, dependability, initiative, and self-control, with a salary range potential of $36,000 to $68,000 annually in California, this is a great training opportunity for you. If you are interested in a career that includes machining or CNC machine operations, this program is for you. Please contact Fresno City College's Applied Technology Division at 559-442-8273 for more information today. The occupational area for...
Thank you. So as you can see here at Fresno City College, we definitely have a lot of hands-on programs. So that way our students are learning by doing as well. And so we have the next slide, please. And then if you wanted to get any more information, you can definitely call any one of our counselors or make an appointment for our Applied Technology Division, as well as our general counseling if we have any other questions regarding our CTE programs. Thank you.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Brandon Hubert. I am a counselor at Clovis Community College for CTE, and I'm going to be talking about a couple of our programs this morning. So Mechatronics and Industrial Automation is designed for students to get them ready for entry-level industrial automation technician positions, preparing students for a career in the design, operation, and maintenance of industrial automation systems. So you can see some of those in the pictures there on the slide. So really focusing on local industries that utilize these technologies: food production, petroleum production, fabrication, and logistics. And we're specifically focusing on the application of electronics and computer technology to industrial automation systems. So things like instrumentation and control of industrial robotics and process control systems. And so the programs, they kind of vary for anywhere from 1 semester for certificates to 2 years for an associate's degree. And the certificates are stackable. And so students can start with just a couple of classes, getting their feet wet in one of our 1 semester certificates, and then stacking all the way up to the 2 to 3 semester certificate or the associate's degree. And you can see the earning potential there, and that is pulled from the local area here. And so that is our Mechatronics Industrial Automation. There's no specific prerequisites to the program. Students can jump right in. They are kind of advised to have a strong algebra or math background. Nothing crazy like calculus or anything like that, but there will be certain calculations or measurements involved in some of the classwork. And so having a fairly strong math background is definitely advised. And if we can go to the next slide, thank you. So occupational therapy assistant is our newest CTE program at Clovis Community College. And we are in the accreditation process. So we've applied for accreditation and been granted candidacy status by the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education. And so what that means is we are in that status as our first cohort goes through the program. And so they'll be applying for graduation at the end of next semester. So May of 22, that is when we hope to move further along in the accreditation status as we graduate our first cohort. And so OTA, so we're focusing on the health and well-being of individuals, getting them back to a meaningful life, or helping them get through an injury and back to being able to operate kind of in their regular life or job again. It is a 16-month program, start to finish. We go straight through, including the summer. Cohorts start every spring, and there are prerequisites for this program. And so students have to complete the eight prerequisites, as well as be graduation ready. And so what that means is any general education that's necessary outside of the 8 prerequisites. It's only about 3 more classes to do that. So students who are either taking classes while in high school through the enrichment program, or even when they get to us, it's about a 2-semester process to get all of the prerequisites out of the way. And then the selection for the program is a lottery style. So we have 25 seats available. And so students need to have a 2.5 GPA in the prerequisites, and then a 2.5 GPA overall in order to get themselves into the lottery. Application cycle starts in the fall, usually August to October of every fall. And then, like I said, the program starts every spring. This field is expected to have some decent growth over the next handful of years. And you can see the earning potential there, again, for California and the Central Valley specifically. And I think that is it for this program. Definitely, if you have any questions on either of these or some of our other CTE programs, you can reach out to me. If you go to the next slide, my contact information will be on there. And so, yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions on either of these programs.
Wonderful, thank you. I imagine at this moment you have specific students in mind where you're thinking, wow, this would be a great program for that student. And I think we've shared and showed and demonstrated the wide variety of welcome back, everyone. I hope that everyone's enjoying the day so far. A lot of information to process, and we have more to go. So another thing that was really popular in our survey was, when you guys filled that out, was the dual enrollment program and high school enrichment program. So Dr. Natalie Culver-Dawkins is going to be representing the district and sharing more about those programs at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. So thank you. Like Michelle said, I am just representing a group of really dedicated and hardworking individuals this morning. So I'm going to share a little bit of information for you about what we have going on with dual enrollment and high school enrichment. And at one point, you'll have a slide with contact information for the individuals at your specific schools. So if you have general questions, please ask them in the chat. But if you've got some specific things having to do with your campus or your high school or your students, please reach out to those individuals because they can give you the particulars, because there are some slight nuances. So next slide, please. So we throw around these terms pretty loosely, and sometimes we throw them out together. Sometimes we throw out even different words, but really we're all talking about students that are in high school that are taking classes at a college level. But the two most common terms are dual enrollment and high school enrichment. So I thought it was going to be important to really talk to you about some really specific differences between the two different areas because the requirements are different and the applications are different. So the signature process and the things that we need from you and from your students and from the high schools themselves is a little bit different. So on the dual enrollment side, we're going to start with that. That is high school initiated. So those involve a contract with the high school and the college, and courses are set up. And the high school is really identifying the group of students that are going to take those courses. And when we talk about dual enrollment, we're talking about a dual enrollment course. Those classes that are offered are at a high school campus. Sometimes they come to the college campus, and the high school really determines which students, like I said, they're going to match those students. You guys are going to match those students with those courses. And typically, those courses are really during their school day. And only other high school students are going to be in those classes because it's a dual enrollment class. Students can register ahead of time. They don't go through the normal registration process. That dual enrollment paperwork is processed through the dual enrollment office or the dual enrollment counselor or coordinator. And you'll also hear us talk a little bit about CCAP or AB 30 or AB 288. So that is mentioned on here because that is the specific rules governing what we do when it comes to dual enrollment and dual enrollment coursework. On the other side, we have high school enrichment, and this really is student driven. A student decides they want to take a college course. They've talked to their high school counselor. They've talked to their parents. They're the ones that are driving that process. So the student is the one that is talking with other folks to determine which classes they're going to take. So when we're talking about high school enrichment, we're talking about high school enrichment students. So that's a student driven process. The majority of those classes are taken on the college campus outside of their high school day. Given the situation we're in with COVID, yeah, likely those classes there could be some online or some hybrid. And we look at multiple measures really to help determine which courses those students are going to be eligible to take. So we look at high school transcripts. We look at GPA. We have conversations with students to determine really where they are and what's going to be best for them because we want to make sure we're setting them all up to be successful. The next bullet, like I mentioned, is that most of those classes are after their school day. Sometimes they're during their regular day if they're a senior, for example, and they have flexible time during their day. And these classes are taken with other, quote, regular college students. So they're just regular admit college students. And students can register during the open registration period, but they do need some support. We do need to ensure that the paperwork is processed before they are able to do any registration. So next slide, please. So what's kind of coming? This is kind of the exciting stuff for us. As you guys have probably experienced at your schools as well, COVID really forced us to take a look at the kind of the things that we were doing and how we were processing and how do we make sure we're doing things most effectively and efficiently. So we were looking at how do we help this process because it can be complicated and it can be confusing and there's lots of different signatures that we require. And one of the nice things that AB 30 has done for us has allowed us to have the dual enrollment form only be signed by everybody one time. So instead of doing the whole packet every single semester and specifying every single class, the document's going to be completed one time. So we're really excited that we get to move towards that. So a freshman comes in, they're taking a counseling 34, they're taking a counseling 53 with us. They do that form one time. They won't have to complete it again and get all of those different signatures ever again in their high school career until they hit Reg to Go when they're going to become one of our regular admit students. We're also moving towards an electronic signature process. So instead of having that hard copy paperwork just thrown across different desks and going all over the place, we're going to do an electronic process. Reedley College is piloting that right now. And I know we've got some of our high school partners on the call today that have been instrumental with us in making sure that that is working. So we're hoping to roll that out district-wide sometime in the really near future. And this is the other thing we want to make sure that folks are aware of, and we're really trying to spend time digging into the records of our students because, like I said, we want to make sure that they're set up for success. And the other piece is to really look at the difference between the allowable units for our high school enrichment students and our dual enrollment students. So if you are a dual enrollment student only, meaning you're taking those dual enrollment classes that you're in like during your regular school day, and you're only in those classes with other high school students, you can take up to 15 units. Now, if you're a high school enrichment student, you're driving the process yourself, you're determining which classes you're interested in taking, the maximum for you is 11 units. However, if students are both, for example, we have a couple of middle college high schools in our district that there's a lot of students that are taking both. They're a dual enrollment student, but they're also a high school enrichment student. Their maximum drops down to be whatever the high school enrichment limit is. And right now that limit is 11 units. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. So that's some of the cross-checking that we're going to be doing. So you might be hearing from folks at our colleges, letting you know, look, we need to really consider which classes are most important for these students to take. And lastly, and this is something that Michelle touched on earlier, but I want to make sure to reiterate, because as of November 15th, it's this going into place. So if students are attending any of our classes on our campus, any of our college campuses, the vaccine mandate does apply to them. And there are medical and religious exemption forms available so students can ask for that. But we want to make sure that you do know that if you are sending students to us, effective November 15th, the vaccine mandate goes into play. So next screen, please. So student support services. So first, they're not listed on here, but I wanted to make sure that you know that when your students are coming to us as dual enrollment or high school enrichment, and they're taking these classes with us, they do have access to the other support services that are on our campus. They can ask for support with the tutorial, the library, our food pantries. All of our campus has those, so make sure that you connect the students to those support services. But the other exciting thing that we have is, and you may be familiar with it, it's the Fresno K-16 Collaborative. So really what this is, it's from the governor's office for educational, I'm going to make sure I call it right, the Governor's Council for Post-Secondary Education. And we are fortunate enough to be part of that within our district. And Emily, I know she's posting some stuff for us in the chat. But we're fortunate enough to be part of this initiative. And I put a little bit of blurbs in there just so you have an idea of really what it is. But it really is for us to look at as a system, working with the workforce folks and employers in the region. How are we serving our students? How are we able to collaborate better and in different ways to make sure that learners are getting the degrees or certificates, like the programs that we highlighted earlier, that are really in demand, that have some high opportunities for growth. So we are focusing on several different areas: accounting and financial management, engineering and education. Those are the top three right now that we're focusing on, but there is a point also on there that I wanted to make sure I highlighted. Number 4 on that prioritized pathway is really looking at ways to help our high school partners, if their faculty, their instructors, their teachers, their counselors like yourselves are interested in earning your master's degrees. If you don't have them, it will help us help you help your students, so you can earn your master's degree, and there's a program to do that. So when we're talking about our students, like I said, we're focusing on those 3 priority pathways: accounting and financial management, engineering and education. We're really excited to have homework help. So you can see the box that's there. So Reedley College is doing in-person homework help, and then there's virtual help with Fresno City College and Clovis. And then we've also got some other exciting things coming up. I think Emily might be putting those in the chat also. We have a virtual dual enrollment hub, which is kind of be a single source place, one place for folks to go get information, for students to be able to start the process and get more involved. And we have a counselor convening coming up. And we'll put the information so you can RSVP to that. We'll put that in the chat as well. And then I mentioned Emily's name and didn't tell you who she was. So Dr. Emily Berg is the Reedley College coordinator for our K-16 Collaborative. So she can drop her contact information in the chat as well. All right, next slide, please. All right, so DSPS. So I know that they're going to talk. We have representatives from our colleges that are going to speak a little bit on DSPS when we get to the part where we're talking about programs and services. But there's a couple things really specific to students that are taking dual enrollment courses or that are high school enrichment students that we want to make sure that you are all aware of. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted that here. Most importantly, if they're taking a course with us, they're considered a state center community college district student, regardless of their high school status. And just having an IEP or a 504 doesn't mean that they're eligible for accommodation. There's some other things that have to happen to make sure that they're able to receive the services for us. So it's most important that the students are the ones that request the assistance from us. That starts the process. There's an intake, and this information is detailed on the slide as well. We look at what their accommodation needs might be, and we get documentation of their disability. So, and that is all happening with a process, an interactive process with our counselors in DSPS. We don't comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Act. We are focused on ADA at the college level and the Rehabilitation Act and Title V. So we look at different requirements and different regulations, which actually means then we are not allowed to modify the course content or the performance expectations or anything specific to the course, which I know is a little bit different than what you do in high school. We provide some accommodations to the students, but it doesn't alter the course itself. So that's the biggest difference as well. And then the last bullet on this is that if students do have some disabilities, they're held to the same standards as the rest of the college population. So we want to make sure that if students in high school did have an IEP or a 504, we want to make sure that we get them connected, but it has to be a student driven thing, but we want to make sure we get them connected because they can be eligible for those services and we want to make sure they don't miss out. I think there's contact information later on as well, but I did include in this slide the contact information for each of your DSPS offices at your colleges as well. All right, next slide, please. This is the last one. I'm not going to say a whole lot, but I'll drop my contact information into the chat. So if you want to reach out to me, you are welcome to do so. But here are your main contacts for your dual enrollment programs and your high school enrichment programs at your individual colleges. So I think I kept myself on time, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're a wealth of knowledge. It's so great to hear all of the support being provided to our high school students taking college courses. We're moving on now to another really important topic. We have several special support programs offered to students, and we want to make sure that they get connected early on. So it's important that you know about them so that you can make sure you're letting students know to be looking for these things as they transition onto our college campus. So the first program we're going to be talking about is TRIO, and I'm going to hand it over to May Vang.
Thank you, Michelle. So my name's May, and it's a pleasure for me to represent TRIO for State Center Community College. TRIO were the first national programs to help with students to retain and address the serious social and cultural barriers with our education system in America. The initiative to start TRIO programs began during the civil rights era with our President Johnson, who wanted to close the gap on poverty. And we all know that education is a ticket to, get out of poverty. And we know that students who have parents who graduated from college are also more likely to graduate from college. So one of our goals at TRIO is to identify the challenges and to provide services to individuals who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So for what we do in TRIO is that we provide support, educational and counseling services, transfer assistance. We help our students apply to the next level of education. We provide financial aid, assistance, and we also provide financial literacy so that our students understand how economics, come into play with their education and loans and all those other things that are necessary for them to have economic literacy. We also, another big thing that we do is we really try to encourage our students and move them to the next level of education. At State Center Community College District, we are very fortunate that we have TRIO programs at all of our colleges. So we have TRIO programs at Fresno City College, Madera College, Clovis Community College, and Reedley College. Next slide, please. Okay, so our goal is to provide students who come from a disadvantaged background 2 factors that they must have in order to qualify for the program is that they must be either first generation or low income. And at the time of entry, we would like for them to be full-time units and coming in with at least a 2.0 GPA. If they meet those requirements, we are glad to have them and assist them. The many benefits of our program include priority registration, one-on-one academic counseling, career, financial, and transfer readiness, and assistance with application. And we also do provide scholarships in our program. They can be anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a semester, based on each individual program, because we are all funded differently, and we all do have a certain number of students to serve based on what we wrote in our personal grants that we wrote for our institution. And the other thing that we also do that is a little bit of fun is that we do take our students on campus tours, and we're very big on culture and cultural events. So we do take our students to, you know, see museums, see plays, you know, get them introduced to different cultures that are out there. And so the next slide is some contact information about all the persons that you can contact at each one of our colleges. Next slide. And here are all the numbers that and emails that you can access if you are interested in referring your students to us. We would be glad to take and assist them. Okay, but thank you very much for allowing me to represent TRIO.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Tabai, and I'm going to start talking about the EOPS program. The EOPS program is the Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, and it is offered at every single campus within the district. It is also, it's actually offered at every single campus, with every single community college within California. Some of the program itself is for low-income and educationally disadvantaged students. And some of the services provided will sound very similar to those of TRIO, but there are some unique differences. We do provide specialized counseling. The students are mandated to meet with us 3 times per term. We also provide first-tier priority registration, book vouchers. We also provide cash grants, transfer assistance, and emergency loans. These services are the services that are provided by each campus. By each campus that has an EOPS program. Every single college like Clovis, Reedley, Fresno City, all of us have like a unique spin on all of these services, but these are the core services that every single program provides. To qualify for EOPS, the determination of who is considered low income is based upon the FAFSA. We as a program don't look at individual tax returns, nothing like that. We actually just look at financial aid eligibility, and that information, which the FAFSA actually for next year opens today. So I do encourage you to get all of your students to start to fill those out. Next slide, please. Within EOPS, we have another program called the CARE program. We actually also have a third program called Next Step, which I believe someone else is going to be presenting on later. But CARE is a program within EOPS that provides services for single parents who are receiving cash aid for either themselves or for a child. This program is really designed to provide additional support for those students to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks. So for example, these students get everything our EOPS students receive except more. So if our EOPS students get $250 in book vouchers, which is the standard amount, our CARE students get an additional $250 for a total of $500 in book vouchers. If our EOPS students get $100 in cash grants at the end of the semester, our CARE students will get $500 on top of that sometimes. The amounts vary, of course, depending on the availability of the budget, but the service remains the same, which is that everything that our EOPS students get, our CARE students get, and then usually more. Our CARE programs also traditionally offer extra things like lending laptop libraries, gas cards, and gift certificates sometimes for car maintenance. But we also provide CARE specific workshops. Since everyone in CARE is a parent, we provide workshops on things like parenting and self-care, things that are specific to that population that would benefit them. Next slide, please. Finally, I was to talk a little bit about our dream centers. All campuses within our district provide services to our Dreamer students. DreamX students can qualify for state-funded programs, including EOPS. So that's an important distinction, is that EOPS programs throughout the district are able to provide services for our Dreamer students. Some of our campuses do have Dream centers, while others have counselors that specialize in providing services. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Denise Garza. I'm the EOPS counselor at Madera College. And like Kelly said, in addition to like CARE program, and we have the next up, which is, it was formerly KFE. So this is for foster youth students. So if you do have either formerly or currently foster youth students, they would then benefit from the EOPS program, and they get additional services like a care student would, such as gas cards, meal cards, daycare reimbursements, laptop lending programs, lending, library and community resources. They also, I know EOPS, we do require the 12 units to be enrolled, but for foster youth, they could take less than the 12 units. And then we do have like designated counselors that would have case manage our next up students.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Denise. My name is Bernetta. I work for the Central California Food Bank. I'm the CalFresh coordinator there. So the resource that we offer at the food bank is CalFresh Assistance in all Fresno, Madera, Kings, and Tulare County. And the benefits of CalFresh, it's basically a nutrition program that it's for low-income families, and they can get financial assistance to provide food for their family. I'm going to go over these 4 points really quick. The first one is the benefits. So the benefit of this program is the student will be receiving a card that looks a lot like this. And then their name would be listed on there, and below their name will be their case number. So if anytime they need to find that, that's where they can find it. If they ever want to reset or change their PIN number, they can turn the card around and they can call the number there and find the balance and change the PIN if they choose to. And then the benefits also, if you could look at this chart on the right, you'll see, depending on the amount of people in the household, that's the max amount of benefits they can get, where it says max benefit amount. That's the max that they can get for their family. And now I'll go over the basic eligibilities. Oh, and they'll be getting that same amount every month. And it doesn't change unless your income amount changes. So the basic eligibility is, first, the student must be, or anyone must be, a U.S. citizen or a permanent legal resident. And second, their gross income must be below the CalFresh income guidelines. So on this chart, you'll see where it says gross monthly income. There's the gross right there. Their gross has to be below that. If their gross is below that, then yes, they can apply for CalFresh. And then they will also deduct rent, PG&E, anything like rent, PG&E, utilities, they'll deduct that. And based on their income, that's how much, then they'll determine how much benefits the person will be getting. Because of COVID, I do want to mention, because of COVID right now, there is something called the emergency allotment. And what that is that it's approved every month, so it's not a guarantee forever. If the person receives, let's say, for example, only a household of one only receives $100, so that first week they will get that $100 that they're qualified for, but then a couple of days later they're going to get the full $250 total because of the emergency allotment. So that's approved for next month as well. Now, the student eligibility. So anyone who applies for CalFresh, if they fall under what I'm about to tell you right now, they're considered a student, and they have different eligibility requirements. So if someone is attending a college that requires you to have a GED when you enter into this college, then you're considered a student. Also, if you're between the ages 18 and 49, you're considered a student. So these are the main two requirements. With that said, if you are going to a college, but you don't have your GED, but at that college, you're going to get your GED, that's a different type of college. You wouldn't be considered a student. The only eligibility you'll need to go off is a U.S. citizen and meet the gross income. That's it. I'm going to go over the student eligibility Next, after this, just want to let you know number 4, where it says how to apply. If you want to apply for CalFresh, you just give me a call. You can call me at my office number. It's right there. My extension is there. You can ask for me. My name is Bernetta, and my email is there as well. Next page, please. So now now this right here is for students. If you're considered a student and eligible for CalFresh, these are the things to look for. So if, like I said already, between the ages of 18 and 49, and then the second requirement is enrolled in at least half-time of a college of what the ones that you are required to have a GED in. Now, the second main thing that you have to have at least one of these to be eligible for CalFresh if you're considered a student. Number 1, either you're working at least 20 hours a week or 80 hours in the whole month. If you're approved for federal work studies, even if you're just approved for it, even if you're, if you're not doing work studies, but you're approved for it, you can do that. Just show proof of that. If you're a full-time student and you have a child under 12, if you're a part-time student and you have a child under 6 years of age, and then if you're a part-time student and your child is 6 to 11 years old, but you have no daycare and you have proof of that, as well, you can apply. If you're enrolled in CalWorks, are you enrolled in CalFresh Employment and Training Program, like a job training, like Reading and Beyond, or what is that? There's some programs out here that it's like a Workforce Connection. If you do not plan to register for next year's term, and if you're enrolled in one of these programs, EOPS, SSS, SDI, DSP. So these are those, if they just at least meet one of those, they can apply for CalFresh. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. I can help you apply over the phone, and I can meet up with you at the school site, and I can help you apply there too. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many faces, familiar faces and new faces. My name is Carla Stoner Brito. I'm a counselor and department chair at Clovis Community College. Unfortunately, Jackie Smith was unable to join us today, so I am subbing in. And hearing from the other colleges, I think the main message from the DSPS program at all colleges is that we want to work closely with our high school partners to just ensure the smooth transition for students into college. So as you know, every college in the district has an office and contact counselors that are listed on the slide. The other thing we wanted to highlight is the online system and application through the student portal. So years ago, it was old school, remember, with those packets. Now everything is more efficient online. So please encourage your students to connect with us. I know several of the programs work with the high school partners and in the past have done special evening events and then moved into virtual events, working with students at your high schools to ensure the smooth transition. So there are many, of course, benefits of being involved in the DSPS program, including priority registration, specialized counseling, and many, many other resources that you're probably familiar with. But we encourage you to have your students apply early so everything is set up prior to them starting in the semester, in the fall semester. And just to have that open dialogue and communication. We have amazing programs district-wide that all collaborate with each other. Even if a student starts with one office and completes the information, I know that you wouldn't have to reapply. The programs share that information with the district college. So that is just a quick summary of the services. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Jackie at Clovis, Pam at Fresno, Fucci at Reedley, and then Karen at Madera. So thanks again for being here, and I hope everyone's enjoying their day.
Oh, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who participated today. There was a lot of great information shared. Thank you to everyone at the colleges who spent so much time preparing such concise and good information, making sure that we were able to share as much as possible in the time frame. I hope you walk away with a sense that we are here for your students. Your students are why we exist, and we are passionate to the core about making sure they have what they need to be successful, whether they want to move on to a four-year college, get their master's degree, get their PhD, or whether they want to gain a technical skill and go into the workforce. We want to make sure that we are preparing the students for their, achieving their goals and their dreams and supporting them along the way. And we want to support the region. We purposely choose majors very carefully, connected to the jobs that are in this region, connected to jobs that might have a good salary. And so that is the work that's being done behind the scenes that you may never see. You just end up seeing those lists of majors and things like that. But we're very passionate about making sure that we're serving this region, we're helping this region to thrive, we're building a talent pipeline for companies here and opportunity for the students in the region. And we are very grateful for your partnership. We could not do this without you. Your ability to let us into the classroom and work with your students directly, that's gold for us. That is so greatly appreciated. You're letting students know about certain programs. And I talked to students, I talked to one student just the other day, and he did not know what to do with his life. And he ended up in his senior year, hadn't taken school seriously up until about his junior year when he met a girl who made him want to take it more seriously. And he took a career assessment with his high school counselor and decided to come to Madera Community College. And he had a lot of issues in his background, his mom having health issues, and long story short, he's now going to be attending UC San Francisco's medical school, and he's going to become a doctor. And I have chills kind of thinking about it, because he actually is going to come back and serve this region. He had kind of a turning point in his life where he said, what has been influential in my life? And it was his mom's health crisis and not having access to healthcare as someone who had immigrated to the United States and having language barriers. And he said to himself, what can I do to make Madera better? And he's coming back and he's going to be a doctor. And that was only because of the high school counselor helping him along the way to get him to a community college. And now he's going to be a doctor serving our region. And so those stories exist all over the place, and we are very grateful to you. So thank you. Does any of my colleagues, Kurt or Emily, want to share any parting words as we close out the day?
No, we want to say thank you so much for attending. We look forward to this every year. Just seeing you, it's such a bright spot in the year, seeing all of your faces and also seeing our colleagues as well. So sometimes we don't get to see you guys either until the spring. So we enjoy seeing you, even if it is on Zoom. We appreciate that you took the time to come and join us. So thank you so much. And Kurt, I will hand it to you.
No, you hit it. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day. Have a great weekend.
Hold on real quick. I
Wait,
got to show you one last slide. This is so important because we need to know what we got to do next year. Let me pop it up there.
All right, thank you. So we do have a survey, and I will email a link as well. But you can, if you're hip enough to do QR codes, then you can go ahead and scan that QR code on your monitor right now and it's a very brief survey to let us know how you did so that we can make improvements for next year. Hopefully we'll be able to be in person, because I know it is a lot to kind of process at your computer screen for this length of time. So thank you so much for sticking with it. And with that, I will send everyone off with a little bit of extra time to your day with lots of gratitude and looking forward to working with you over this next year. Thank you. Oh, someone's asking if we will send a link to the PowerPoint and some other resources sometime next week. We're working on getting everything into a folder right now for you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, Sam. Have a good
Bye,
weekend.
Sam.
Bye, Sam. We'll
Loving
see you
your
soon.
background, Sam. I love your background, Sam. with all the-
Emily, Rose, Josie, Noel, good D.